Welcome to today's English video where we're going to be discussing avoiding run-on sentences. So firstly, what is a run-on sentence? Well, it's where we have two sentences which could be made separate or two independent clauses which can stand on their own, connected by a comma, and that's incorrectly connected by a comma where they should not be. Here's an example. The sentence at the top of the screen there says, school starts at 8 a.m. We can arrive from 7:30 a.m. It has been incorrectly punctuated with a comma in the middle of those two clauses after 8 a.m. So the two independent clauses in that sentence are school starts at 8 a.m. and we can arrive from 7:30 a.m. Each of those can stand independently on their own. How do you know if they're independent clauses? Well, an easy test is just to read that clause aloud individually and see whether you feel like it is a complete sentence. It's something that you could say to somebody else and they would get the whole idea in that one simple sentence. If they are both independent clauses, then they should not be linked by a comma. How do you fix a run-on sentence? Well, again, looking at those two independent clauses at the top of the screen there, the same ones as we used on the previous slide. The first option we could use to fix this sentence would be to use a coordinating conjunction, where we join two sentences and create a compound sentence. Or we put two independent clauses together with a gluing word, we sometimes call them a coordinating conjunction. And if you're familiar with fanboys, that's an acronym for some of the most common coordinating conjunctions, for, and, nor, and so on. Here on this screen, I'm going to show you how we can use but and, which are two common coordinating conjunctions. We could say school starts at 8 a.m. but we can arrive from 7:30 a.m. It shows the relationship between the two clauses. Sometimes people put a comma before but, particularly in American writing. School starts at 8 a.m., comma, but we can arrive from 7:30 a.m. Both of those will be correct under different style guides. And then the third option is that we could use and. We can arrive from 7:30 a.m. and school starts at 8 a.m. So depending on how you want to put the ideas together, you can choose different coordinating conjunctions and put the clauses in different orders. Another option is to use a subordinating conjunction to join the two clauses. So in the last example, both of those independent clauses remained equally important in the sentence, and we joined them with a word to create a compound sentence with two equal parts. Here, we might change one of the parts of the sentence, one of those clauses, to become dependent on the other one. It might become a subordinate clause. To do that, you can use different conjunctions, such as while, which is on the screen here. So I'm going to put while in front of that first clause. While school starts at 8 a.m., comma, we can arrive from 7:30 a.m. Now, if I said each of those parts separately, you might pick up that one part doesn't sound like a full sentence on its own. Here we go. While school starts at 8 a.m. Now you're left thinking, while what? While school starts at 8 a.m. and, right? So that tells you that that sentence on its own is not an independent sentence. It's not an independent clause. It's going to depend on another part of the sentence to help it make sense, which means that it's the dependent or the subordinate clause. Let's test the second half of this sentence. We can arrive from 7:30 a.m. Yes, makes sense on its own. That's the independent clause. Put the two together and you show how the two ideas connect, and you can have a comma between them because you've now created a complex sentence with a dependent and an independent clause. Now the third option here, I'll just move my face so you can see that punctuation mark. That's a semicolon. And a semicolon can be used where two sentences are very closely linked. So option 1 and option 2 that we just went through, they're the ones that I would recommend to most people because a lot of people don't feel confident using semicolons. So I have put this option here as a third possibility, but definitely opt for the first two if you're not sure. But semicolons are a matter of judgment. Some people like their use. Some people believe they can be used in some sentences and others might disagree. Let's have a look at this example we've been working on. School starts at 8 a.m. We can arrive from 7:30 a.m. Personally, I don't think that those two clauses work well with a semicolon between them because I feel like the two ideas are quite separate. They are connected, but they're not closely linked. Some people would disagree with me. Some people might say this is the perfect time to use a semicolon. So I've shown you what it looks like on the screen. But I'm going to show you two more examples here as well so that you get a better understanding of where a semicolon might be most suitable. The second example on the screen, where the cursor is there, says, "We have paid the fees, we expect the service to be provided." I feel like those two are very closely connected. We have paid the fees, we expect the service to be provided. The service relates directly to the service that the fees have been paid for, so I would put a semicolon between those two. You could also use one of the other options we mentioned before. We have paid the fees, so we expect the service to be provided. That's using a conjunction to join the two independent clauses. And maybe you could have a subordinating conjunction. Because we have paid the fees, we expect the service to be provided. So either of those options would also work. If you have a look at the third example on the screen, this proposal contains a lot of information. A response will be provided within 14 days. I feel like this one is not black or white. The first one on the screen here is a matter of judgment. The second one, I think, is a clear candidate for a semicolon. This third one, the proposal one, is a definite no for a semicolon. Those two ideas are very separate. The proposal contains a lot of information and a response will be provided in 14 days. They need a full stop between the two of them and they need to be separated into two completely different sentences. So you'll see I've put a strike through on the option there, which has a semicolon, because I just do not think a semicolon would ever work in that sentence. I hope that's been helpful. It has been a little bit of a crash course. Definitely look at some websites to see more examples and have a look at your own work and see if you can spot any run-on sentences. As always, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel to continue supporting this information that we put out to help everybody. Thanks, guys. Bye.